Hey everyone, welcome back to another video of Chit Chat with Tico. My name is Tico, and yeah, I know, I've been gone for a long fucking time. The bitch has been busy. She's got things to do, bills to pay. We're back in our spot, we're back in our chair, the camera is on. We are ready to get into this week's video. And once again, here I am, in front of this camera, in front of my picture wall, with all my thoughts, emotions, and a very personal story today for all the internet to see and judge and make fun of and have opinions about. And again, even 4 weeks later, I don't care. So, you already know the fucking drill. Let's get into this week's video. Okay, I know, it's been a little bit of time. It's been a while. Let me tell you, by taking a break, that means that so much shit has accumulated in this big ass head of mine that we got a lot to fucking talk about, okay? I'm so excited to be filming this video this week. We are gonna be talking about my coming out story. For those of you that do not know, yes, I am bisexual. My coming out story is super crazy. I feel like this topic of like coming out, my coming out story, is not something that I've really gone into detail with. I feel like really revisiting it and going back through my entire journey of coming out is something that I've never really even done for myself. So I'm really excited. I remember when I was going through like the confusion of understanding like my feelings and what that meant and understanding everyone else's feelings towards that idea. I wish that I would have had somebody like me to talk to. When I was first dealing with coming out, I did find a girl on YouTube that I liked, and it was like super not even a relatable topic because she was super out and her girlfriend was out at the time, but they were just pretty much documenting like their lesbian experience, dating and being gay. And I remember like literally like shipping them so hard, and I was really young during that time. I was probably like a junior in high school. It was like something that I like identified with, and I wish that there was more stuff like that at the time. There definitely is now. I feel like people are very open about their sexuality these days, or their sexual orientation. Maybe it's not as needed, but I don't know if anybody can relate to my story, so that's why I'm gonna tell it. First off, as far as like understanding that I was bi, understanding that I was attracted to the same sex started for me probably in elementary school. I wouldn't say that I was like, oh, I like that girl, but I looked at girls the same way that I looked at guys. And when I was younger, a lot of my friends did. I felt like I was normal. So I probably had my first sexual experience with the same sex probably in like 7th grade, which is super young. I remember I was like at a sleepover with some friends. We were playing like truth or dare. I ended up kissing a girl. Everyone was done with the game, the kissing the girls and all that shit, but I was like still trying to kiss this girl. Even one of the girls at the sleepover was like, why do you want to kiss her so bad? I thought that I was being sexual. I was definitely too young to be having sex with like a boy or being sexual with a boy, so I felt very comfortable being sexual with a girl. I also thought I was in a phase for a very long time. I had some friends that were lesbian, super on the down low, but everybody ended up finding out about them, and when everybody found out about them, it was like a big deal. I remember like people making fun of them. I remember boys like saying things. I remember teachers like whispering about things, and like my parents telling me like they didn't want me hanging out with them. So that was like my first real introduction to the idea that being gay was bad, which kind of fucked me up a little bit, but at the same time I still liked boys. I didn't really feel like I wasn't gonna be accepted. Like I just hadn't really like dealt with the idea that I liked girls beyond just like a physical thing or like experimenting. I definitely watched people freak out around the idea, so I kind of like put that in the back of my head and like was whatever about it. From early middle school all the way out through high school, I was having sexual experiences with girls. I was also having sexual experiences with guys, but definitely girls more frequently than guys. But I just, again, chalked it up to just being comfortable with women. I was the friend that girls would experiment with. I'd never ever heard them identifying as being gay. So that was really confusing for me. Everybody was doing it, so like why does that make me gay? You know what I mean? And especially because I still liked boys, it was really hard for me to identify with that idea. After middle school, into high school, I have, you know, boyfriends, whatever that is in high school, because my parents were super strict, so I wasn't really allowed to date. As far as like having boys at my house or going on dates or like talking to them on the phone, that didn't happen until well into my junior year. That kind of solidified my straightness for me. I'm straight, you know, I'm dating this guy, I really like him, and even the idea of being bisexual, I knew so many girls that were in middle school and high school that would say that they were bi. It was like a way to get attention from other dudes. I didn't think that being bi was real. I thought because I was dating a boy and because I had a boyfriend and it was real and it was official, I'm straight. By my junior year, I had actually moved schools to a smaller school, and majority of my classmates were first generation Americans. So very traditional Mexican ideals were what built that school. Going to a new school where there were definitely no out gay people. There were people that people suspected were gay, but it was never like talked about in a positive way. It really pushed and suppressed the idea of being gay down. I'm at this school, I'm dating this boy, and we break up. Typical high school breakup, super dramatic. And during that time, I ended up befriending a girl. For the sake of everyone's privacy, I'm gonna give this girl a name. I'm gonna name this girl Haley. After my breakup with my high school boyfriend, I meet Haley and we become really good friends. I hear through the grapevine or through gossip at school that she is openly bisexual. I don't know, I kind of like admired that about her because in a place that was so conservative, she kind of just like didn't give a fuck. Me and Haley start hanging out all the time. I develop feelings for Haley. I was super scared. I heard the way other people talked about Haley. I also had like a family member that was working at school that I was scared was gonna tell my parents. And I'm telling you, this school was so small. I can't even begin to tell you how small this town was. It literally was like one street. The school was super small. Everybody that went to that school had been going to school together since like preschool. So I already kind of had everybody like all up in my business because I was new. Adding being gay or like having a relationship with another girl at a place like this was definitely not something that I was ready for. But I had real genuine feelings. I didn't know what to do with those feelings at all. Back then, I was just super insecure. I always had people all up in my shit, and I had dealt with like a lot of bullying at the school that I had went to previously that I just wasn't ready to go through something like that again. Rumors started spreading that me and Haley were dating. It was crazy. I had just made Twitter and our school had just went like paperless, so everybody had iPads. My real first time dealing with like cyberbullying. Felt like everybody was always talking about me. I ended up getting kicked out of that school for fighting due to this situation. Every single time Haley saw the girl that I fought, they fought for like 2 years after we graduated. Like, she wasn't fucking around. Again, to Haley, she was so used to this and had come out earlier that she wasn't really tripping, but I was like super overwhelmed by it. Poor Haley, she was like really ready to like be with me, and she was just so much more mature and more brave than I was that I would like keep her in a place where she was still kind of my girlfriend, but she was always a secret. I was in that relationship with one foot completely out of the door. Shit, half my body was out of the fucking door. And I remember being terrified that my family was gonna find out. Looking back on it, I felt so bad. And me and her had a very rocky relationship from that time until way later because of what we went through in high school. It was just really hard to be myself. I remember feeling like I had these feelings that I couldn't act on. I remember feeling like really ashamed and really, embarrassed. My outside demeanor was like, I don't give a fuck what people think. Like, people can say whatever they want. I don't give a fuck about what people think. And I definitely wasn't living up to that. Like, I was so scared of what everybody was thinking and what everybody was saying. I wasn't ready to really come out at that time. It was a lot. I ended up getting in a fight with somebody that was always talking shit about me and Haley and our relationship. I got kicked out, back at square one, like totally in denial about my feelings, away from the person that was making me having to come to terms with my sexuality. I ended up relinking with some friends from my old high school. We had this performance, and at this performance, I meet another girl, and we're gonna name her Allison. Right away, I'm like, who is that? I need to know who that is. My friend at the time is talking to Allison's friend. We end up like linking up at a party together. I am just like so into this girl. We texted for like maybe 2 or 3 days, and then I kind of ghosted her. Still kind of in a weird position with Haley, but again, we're not going to the same school anymore, so I'm not really focusing on her. I end up talking to Allison more. Allison has just got out of this long-term relationship where she was like a secret, like a full-blown secret. And I had just did that to Haley. And Allison's one condition was like, we can do this, but if you're not out and you're not part of your life, then this isn't gonna work. I was not ready for that shit. Meanwhile, my mom is like pretty understanding, pretty chill. My dad, on the other hand, he's like not chill, but he just wasn't ready for this kind of news. And I wasn't ready for the rest of my family to know, like, I don't know any immediately gay people in my family at this time that this is happening. So I'm like, what the fuck? Like, nobody that we know is gay. Like, my family's gonna be so fucked up about this. So anyways, in a relationship with this girl, we're texting all the time, we're talking all the time. And so I slowly start trying to introduce the girl into my family's like psyche. You know, like they hear the name, they see the face. Maybe I don't have to say anything. Maybe they'll just magically like put two and two together and I won't have to say anything. I start kind of slowly planting chips, planting little crumbs for my mom to kind of like understand who this girl is. And so I'm talking about her and talking about her and talking about her. And my mom's just like, you're always talking about Allison. Like, do you like her or something? And I think she was joking at the time, but it scared the shit out of me. And so I was like, what the fuck? No, like you're hella weird. So then that was my one window to like slide it to my mom. Like, hey, yeah, I like this girl. And I totally pussied out. I was like, no, what the fuck? You're weird. Why would you say that? Operation Tell My Parents was like a no-go. I'm talking to her, my friend is talking to her friend. Allison and her friend go to Oregon for a trip. They were going for like the weekend and they had tweeted like, oh, have 2 extra seats for this Oregon trip, like who's trying to come? And of course we weren't gonna message them and be like, we're trying to come. We wanted them to invite us. They don't invite us and we're like kind of mad about it. And so me and my friend get this crazy idea that we're gonna go to Oregon and surprise them. Again, I'm like 17 years old at the time, about to be 18. I think I was like 2 weeks away from my 18th birthday. So I was really young and naive, and now that I look back on that situation, what a fucking psycho ass move. I was like, let's fucking go. So me and my friend really drove like 9 hours to meet them there and didn't tell them that we were coming. I'll give you a second to just take that information in, because I literally to this day, I'm so embarrassed that we did that. But whatever, I'm like fucking 26 now, so who cares? So much crazy stuff happens on the way there. If you've ever taken the trip from like Central California up to like Humboldt area, well, that's where we were going. It's not technically Oregon, but when I tell the story and they don't know where Humboldt is, Oregon. It is so dark. It's windy, like the road is super windy and crazy. It's like pouring rain. It's like literally if you drove through Twilight. Like that's what the fuck it looked like, okay? Edward Cullen was about to come and change my tires. Like that's how fucking crazy. He was about to pump my gas. Me and my friend drive 9 hours to get there. And meanwhile, my parents have no idea where I am. I tell them I'm staying at her house. She tells her parents she's staying at my house. And we were together all the time that our parents didn't even like connect the two. So we're just like in Oregon doing our thing. We call Allison and I'm like, hey, guess where we're at right now? And she's like, where are you? And I'm like, we came to visit you. And she's like, no fucking way. Like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm literally pumping gas in Humboldt County right now. And she's like, is there somebody that's like working there? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, call me from that place's number so I know that you're here with that area code. So I'm like, say less. Use their fucking phone. I'm like, hey, bitch, it's me. So she's like, what the fuck, you're crazy. So then we end up meeting up with them. We're chilling, whatever. Literally nothing happens. I literally went there to like sit on a couch next to her and like smoke hella tree. Like that's literally all we did. And I drove 9 hours for that shit. Like, bitch, you could have waited until she got back. Like, why were you doing all that? But I was just mad that she didn't invite me, so a bitch pulled up. 9 hours away, but whatever. Coincidentally, that is actually the time that my friend gets with her friend. So that's like their day that they become like boyfriend and girlfriend. So I go there to visit this bitch, and my friend and her friend end up dating. So I'm like, what the fuck? Why am I even here? Like, I literally felt like so stupid. 9 hours there, okay, to sleep there. I don't even think we really slept, to be honest. We were just chilling the whole time. For literally like the minute the sun came up, we turned our asses around and went right back home. Okay, that's how fucking stupid we were. Long story short, something happens while we're there. And me and my friend get stranded there. We have no gas to get back. I don't know what the fuck we were doing. We just didn't plan accordingly. We were on the same page in the beginning, and then by the time we were like ready to leave, we realized that we had this problem. I don't know what to do. Meanwhile, I'm 9 hours away. Who the fuck am I gonna call? No, nobody there. And I'm too embarrassed to tell the person that I went to go see, because she's like, bitch, you came all the way the fuck out here and you didn't prepare for this? Something happened, and regardless, some bullshit went down and we didn't know how to get home. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna call my sister. Now, for background, me and my sister at this time, we didn't get down like that. Like, she was the last resort, okay? Literally, I should have called my mother, okay? That's how much she was the last resort. I called my sister, she sets it up, we get home. Meanwhile, she's asking me, what the fuck are you doing in Oregon? Like, why are you there? So I'm like, I don't want to tell you. Like, I don't want to tell you. Me and my sister are in a way better place now. But back then, my sister was a little snitch, okay? So I was really scared to tell her. So I tell my sister, you know, I'm talking to this girl. You know, I wanted to come see her. I came out here. I know I'm stupid, but that's what it is. And that's why I can't tell mom and dad. She's like, okay, like, all right. That say less, like whatever. It kind of like drops it. So we're on our way back. We're fucking bombing these hills. I'm telling you, if you've ever driven from Humboldt, California to Central California, it is literally just like these windy ass roads, okay? And we're bombing these hills, all right? And so all of a sudden, I hear it, I turn around, look in my rearview mirror, lights, get pulled over. I'm 17 at the time. Don't even have my fucking driver's license. And we drove all the way there. Now, my friend had her license and she drove there, but I drove back. So, of course, we get pulled over. And I have my permit, though. I have my permit at the time. So, the cop comes up to me and he's like, you know, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm so sorry, you know, we're driving, we're really tired, you know, I just wasn't paying attention. He's like, can I see your license? And I was like, oh, actually, I only have my permit. You know, my friend, she's super tired. So I know she's not 25, but, you know, I just thought it'd be safer for me to drive than her. So he's like, cool, whatever. Let me just go run your license really quick. So we look fucking crazy, by the way. We look insane. We look like we just took a 9-hour trip for no fucking reason. He comes back to the car and hands me the motherfucking ticket. And as he's handing me the ticket, he tells me, so have you ever gotten a ticket in Eureka, California before? And I'm like, no. And he's like, so here you have to appear in court. Your court date is listed at the bottom. So I'm like, how the fuck am I gonna come all the way back here for court and my parents not find out? So I'm like looking at it and the date says like 2 weeks after my birthday. So I'll be 18 already. And I was one of those dumb motherfuckers that was like, well, when I'm 18, I'm an adult. I ain't gotta tell nobody anything, blah, blah, blah. So I fucking fold up that ticket, put it in my purse, and we're on our way. As we're driving, it starts snowing, okay? Full on snowing. I ain't got no chains on my tire. I ain't got shit. We were not ready for this. All of a sudden, my friend's mom calls her, right? And where we live at in Central California, there is no snow. So we're only where we're at, like closer to Oregon, there's like a little bit of snow, okay? So we're driving back, her mom calls and she's like, hey, where are you guys? Oh, you know, I'm at Cindy's house, you know, I'm just chilling. And she's like, is it snowing where you're at? And we're like, what do you mean? And she's like, yeah, it's snowing in our backyard right now. And we're like, oh. So then we look on Twitter at the time and everybody in our fucking hometown's tripping out because it's snowing. But we really thought like she done caught us or something. The cops done already sent the letters to my house or something. We get back to my hometown and we're like, bitch, we did it. We fucking did it. And then we're like, we get home and we realize what the fuck we did. We realize like, bitch, why the fuck did we go there? Like, now I got a ticket. I had to tell my sister why I was there. And the only one that came out, somebody's girlfriend, is you, bitch. Like, why didn't you get the ticket? You know? The girl didn't talk to me for like 2 days, okay? I think she was like, that bitch is fucking crazy. But then something about me, you know, she was like, I'm gonna hit her up. So we end up talking again, and pretty much I find out from her friend that she's not about to ask me to be her girlfriend until I turn 18. She was a year older than me at the time, so I had to wait for a little bit. A couple weeks go by, okay? And then all of a sudden, I'm like getting ready to go to sleep. My dad was working, he was working out of town at the time, so he was never home. And my mom comes barging into my room, okay? Like fucking kicks down the door type shit. Why the fuck do I have a ticket in the mail from Eureka, California? And I was like, literally the only words that could come out of my mouth, I didn't explain shit. I was just like, don't tell dad. And so my mom's like, what? Like, what could you have possibly been doing in Eureka, California? And I was like, well, remember how you asked me if I liked Allison? And my mom was like, yeah. And I was like, well, Allison went to Humboldt, so I decided to go visit her. And my mom was like, you're a fucking idiot. She was so mad at me, but she was more mad at me that I got a ticket. And she was just like, if your dad would have found this shit. And then my mom was like, and you gonna make me lie to your fucking daddy? Like, you know how crazy he is. Why would you make me do that? And I was like, I'm so sorry. But I was like, but don't tell him, because he's gonna ask me why, and then I'm gonna have to tell him why. And I was like, and I'll tell him. I promise you I'll tell him. And I'll tell him about the ticket. I'll tell him about Humble. I'll tell him everything. But you cannot tell him, because he's gonna ask me why. And so my mom looked at me and she was so freaking, I'll never forget the look on her face. She was like, all right, well, you better tell him. And I thought that was the worst. You know, like my mom found out, whatever, she's gonna hold it down until after my birthday. I'm gonna tell my dad. Boy, was I wrong. One of my other friends, who's completely unrelated to the situation, is at my house and we're getting ready for rehearsal. Like, my homie's at my house, okay? We're sitting in my kitchen. And my dad comes in. I don't even remember how he brought it up. But he was, oh yeah, my dad was like, how's your car running? And I was like, it's going pretty good, why? And he was like, oh, you know, usually your car gives you a lot of trouble after you take a long trip like that. And I was like, what? And he was like, oh yeah, because you took your car on like a really long trip, right? And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, yeah, you went to Humboldt, California? And I was like, who told you I went there? And I looked at my mom, and my mom's behind him like, didn't say anything. Fucking light bulb right away, my sister. So I'm looking at him and I'm like, she told you, huh? And he's like, she didn't tell me anything. She didn't tell me anything. You don't need to worry about that. You need to tell me what the fuck you were doing there. And I was like, I'm not gonna tell you why I was there. And he's like, yes you are. You better tell me why you're there. He's like, I swear to God, you better fucking tell me why you're there. And he's like, because I have an idea, and you better tell me why you were there. Meanwhile, I got my homie right next to me. My friend, who is completely a third party, is sitting right next to me eating some tacos. My mom's like trying to tell him, like, you know, I don't think this is a good idea to have this conversation. I don't think you should be talking about this. And my mom's like trying to warn him, you don't want to know the answer right now. And my mom even says, like, you know, let's take her friend home first before you guys have this conversation. My friend's looking at me like, I'm really about to watch this shit go down. He was just like, first of all, do you know why people go to Humboldt? And for anybody who knows, Humboldt is like one word, weed. So my dad's looking at me as if now I'm addicted to drugs. And I'm like, I went to go see my friend. And he's like, your friend? Does he deal weed? And I'm like, it wasn't a guy, it was a girl. It was just like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm dating a girl, and she was there and I went to go see her. And literally just pure, what the fuck is on his face? Dating a girl? Like, what are you talking about? And he was like, no, you're not. And I was like, yeah, I am. I have a girlfriend. And he was like, no, because if you had a girlfriend, you would tell me. And I was like, I'm telling you right now. And my dad looks at me and he's like, are you sure you're not selling drugs? I'm sorry that you wish that I was a full-blown drug dealer instead of gay, but not drugs. So then my dad looks at my friend and he's like, I think it's time for you to go home. My dad's always been one of those parents that felt like he knew everything. Whenever I got in trouble or whenever I was trying to be sneaky, I always got caught because my dad knew everything. My dad felt like he got hit with like a curveball. That was not the answer that he was expecting at all. Then my dad tells me, well, if you're gay, then I don't want any of your friends coming over anymore. I don't want any of your friends spending the night anymore. Like, if you're gay, I'm gonna treat your girlfriends the way I would treat your boyfriends. So you're not allowed to have friends that are girls and have them over here anymore. Well, first of all, that's so stupid because I'm not fucking any of my friends. And second of all, like, just because I'm gay doesn't mean I'm a fucking whore for every single girl that comes around me. Little did he know I kind of was, but you know, anyways, I remember him asking me, why wouldn't you tell me? And I told him, like, I was gonna tell you, but I was gonna wait until my birthday. And my dad was like, why? Did you think I was gonna kick you out? Like, did you think that you needed to be 18 because you'd be an adult? Like, you're still my daughter. And I was just like, yeah, I just wasn't ready to, like, tell you. Because of that situation, I was really upset with my sister for a long time because I felt like she planted a seed for me to tell my father when I wasn't ready. She knew what she was doing, and it made me really, really upset with her. Nothing is more infuriating when it comes to like being confused about your sexual orientation than being forced into a corner to tell somebody that you're not ready to tell. I remember for like the first couple of months, my dad was really, really mean to her. I don't ever physically remember telling my grandparents, I don't remember doing that at all. Again, like that information kind of just like spread out amongst like my family, but I'm still to this day, and this was years ago, unsure of like who actually told them. I was out and I was open about my sexuality. Back to Haley during this time. I remember it was my high school graduation. I had already turned 18, and I remember Haley came to my graduation to watch me because she was a year younger than me. And my girlfriend at the time, Allison, was there. Haley was so mad. Haley was so pissed because here I was like completely out, full blown, like flaunting my relationship in front of the girl that I was so terrified of people finding out about. So I dealt with that guilt for a very, very long time because I felt like I put somebody who was super comfortable with their sexuality through literally the ringer because I wasn't ready to go and be ready with somebody else. And then all those people that talk shit about me at my old school or the school I was graduating from, they didn't even matter as I got older. And it didn't even matter once I was like really comfortable in my skin and in my sexual orientation. So if there's anything I could say to anybody who's like closeted right now or cares about what people think, like especially if you're young and you're in high school or even middle school, you know, because you know those feelings so early. Some people don't, but some people do. Some people know so early. And really, like, the only person you're doing a disservice to is yourself. Once you become comfortable with your truth, nobody else's fucking opinion, you don't even think about it. Here I am now with this girl publicly in front of another girl that I was like super ashamed to be with because I was embarrassed of being, you know, outed or whatever, and I got fucking outed anyway. I remember my family took it really, really hard on. I would bring Allison around and my family would literally just make it seem like she wasn't there. A lot of people talk about the coming out process and what it feels like to say those words to your family. I can't tell you if I felt like more free or more honest because I still felt like even when everybody knew, I was still not allowed to talk about it. You hear a lot about like the coming out process of getting to a point where you say like, hey, mom and dad, I'm gay. But I didn't look gay. I had had boyfriends and I liked boys when I was growing up, so how could I be gay? And so that idea of like having to fit an image of what being gay looks like was so confusing for my family. I remember I stopped being around my family for a while. I never really prepared myself for what it felt like to bring somebody to my family. Because it's one thing for your family to know about your sexuality, but it's another thing for them to have to experience it for the first time. You know, it would have been different if I would have just been like, hey, I have these feelings that I'm gay. But it was like, hey, I have these feelings, I'm gay, and I have a girlfriend, and you have to meet her, and she's gonna be around me. So shortly after I came out, I moved out, and I moved in with my girlfriend, which put me also in a weird place because I wasn't ready to leave home. I wasn't ready to be on my own like that. But I loved her so much that I was willing to put that extra strain on my relationship and that extra strain on my life if it meant that I didn't have to hide her. I completely like stopped talking to my family. I still talk to my mom every now and then. I would still stop by and see my parents every now and then. But if it came to like talking to them on an everyday basis, and meanwhile we lived in the same town and I didn't see my family. I would miss birthdays. I think I only went over there for like the first 2 years for like Christmas and Thanksgiving. Even on my own birthday, I didn't go. I just remember feeling very embarrassed by my family. My experience with coming out, I faced a lot of outside opinion from everybody. I didn't have people in my life that were just like, it doesn't matter. You know, I didn't have anybody in my life that was just like, that's cool, like whatever you want to do, you know? Everybody in my life had a fucking opinion. Everybody. Friends, classmates, teachers. Oh my God. I remember when me and Haley were first starting to talk and rumors were going around, they literally brought me and Haley separately into like a conference room, and all of our teachers were in this conference room telling us that we were being a distraction to the other kids, that they were gonna tell our parents. Like, that's how small-minded the people that I was around were. So I was so uncomfortable, and I'm so thankful for the way that the world is now, even though there's so much like hate, and definitely by no means is it easier now than it was then. But I feel like people that are my age people that are a little bit younger, people that, you know, kids are going to school with, being bisexual is a thing. They don't care about the stereotype. Like, you don't have to be a stud to be a lesbian. You can be a femme and be a lesbian. Like, I didn't grow up with that idea being normal. I'm super thankful that like my kids, or even like my younger cousins, or, you know, even people in my family that are dealing with their sexual orientation, they're in a place now where they can like unapologetically be themselves. Now, I wasted a lot of time caring about what everybody else thought. I feel like to anybody who's watching this, for anybody who's struggling with their sexual orientation or coming out or like caring about what other people think, I love you. I know that you don't know who I am, and I know that you might never meet me, but just know that like I support you and I love you. And it is a scary thing, and it's nobody's business. You know, if you're not ready to come out, then don't come out. If you are ready and you feel like people are gonna judge you, you know, then be whoever you want to be. Take your time. And it's so scary. You know, the world is really scary. People get killed, people get beat, people get raped over people being who they are. The hate that people have in their heart for the LGBTQ community is it's so heartbreaking. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like my story was super traumatic. I did deal with a lot of like personal issues, but I know that there's people that really don't feel safe being themselves. I know that this story went from like a really funny like story time type of like really serious thing, but this is something that's really affected me. I am bisexual. I have a husband now, you know, I'm married and in love with a man. And even that was a hard thing, to reintroduce men back into my life when my family had just struggled with like learning that I was dating girls or attracted to girls. And I still think that like, even if me and my husband didn't work out and I dated a girl next, or I got married to a girl, I feel like I would have to go through this process all over again. Now I'm a little bit older, and now I understand that like my journey is my journey, and like it doesn't need to be anybody else's business. Like, who I love and who I share myself with is nobody else's business. And I just really hate the idea of like coming out and like it being this big announcement and like having to deal with everybody's emotions. And I think that was the hardest part for me, is like, not only am I dealing with my own self-identity crisis and like trying to figure out who I am, now I have to deal with how the fuck you feel about it. Like, this is my life, and this is what coming out was for me. And I feel really thankful that I get to like talk about it and like put it on video and put it on the internet and have people identify with it or hate it, or, you know, think about it or think about what they put others through. You know, maybe the people that fucking made me feel like shit in high school can watch this and be like, oh shit, like maybe I should have shut the fuck up. Yeah, this was a good one. This was a fun one. Thinking about like my experience of coming out and like how, like thinking about how fucking crazy and funny it is now, like I really pray to God that if I have a daughter, that she is not as fucking crazy as I am, because let me find out my fucking kid drove to Oregon overnight. I feel good. I'm back. Like, I feel so happy to be back. Super ready to start making videos again. Be active on the socials, be active on the YouTube. So make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in next week's video. Peace out.